told because like prescription pills were bad. I always thought, well, if they help people with like back injuries, they can't be that bad for you or that addictive for you.
He got morphine at school from another classmate who got it from his parents' medicine cabinet at home.
They see a parent, taking a pill every night. They see him taking it in the mornings, and they think, you know what? If I want to take one because it makes me feel good once in a while, it's okay. But what they don't know is that it's not okay. The risk of becoming addicted to prescription drugs is huge, and the risk of taking a drug that is not prescribed to you is even greater.
If it's non-prescription drug use, we're thinking about an excess of use. And so adolescents process the drug differently than adults. When the drug is taken up into the brain basically increases its tolerance more quickly to the dose.
And teens particularly we're worried about because they don't understand the dangers of prescription medications. When surveyed, they think that they are safer than street drugs, whereas what we're seeing in statistics are more people are dying from prescription medications than they are from heroin and methadone.
Our numbers are too high for kids who are drinking alcohol. So if they drink alcohol and they mix it with prescription drugs, that can be a lethal combination.
I went upstairs to do things up there and went in to wake him up, and he had already been passed away for quite a few hours at that point.
Some of those drugs carry a jail term or fines associated with them when they're a misdemeanor. Some of the drugs that fall under felony classification, you can look at going to prison for possessing those drugs.
Actually, 18% of youth within our high schools reported using prescription drugs in the last 30 days. And so if you think that it's not your kid, you got an 18% chance that it is.
Prescription drug use among teens is becoming a serious problem here in Pima County as around the state. We have, our numbers tell us when we look at the Arizona Youth Survey that was done in 2012, the data tells us that almost 10% of 8th graders have taken prescription drugs that were not prescribed to them. And although, 10% doesn't sound like a high number, that's 1 out of every 10 children who are only in 8th grade who have taken a prescription drug that is not prescribed to them. And the numbers get worse, of course, as the kids get older. In 10th grade, it's about 14.5%. And by 12th grade, we've got almost 20%. So that's 2 out of every 10 kids. And one has to wonder why.
I think the reason why they would is because a lot of teens feel like they're in this sort of state where, no one understands them and they're uncomfortable with themselves and trying to figure out where they want to be and who they want to be. And I think when it can be confusing like that, they can try to experiment with a variety of things that probably they shouldn't.
Out is that we still have a period of growth happening in adolescence. So this gives us an opportunity to think about how adolescents may change and learn. The other side of that is that they're a lot more sensitive to things that are in the environment. We want to be concerned about how much of it that they're taking. So in studies that are done with rats and adolescent rats, they actually find that doses in adolescents increase their tolerance. And an increased tolerance to that dose is associated with increased likelihood of substance dependence.
I started abusing prescription pills when I was 14, and it started in school actually. One of my friends brought them to school and was just like, "Oh, do you want to try something?" And it was during lunch, so I was like, "Oh yeah, sure, let's try it." and it was Oxycontin. I did Oxycontin for about a year. I finished like my freshman year doing it, and then part of my sophomore year I did. Like I never just took them. I'd snort it, like crush it up and snort it. People have them in their medicine cabinets. They have them like parents would like leave them aside, so like kids would like go into their parents' medicine cabinets and just take them and sell them to other kids at school.
You can look at jail time, you can look at fines, you can look at mandatory diversion counseling, you can also look at license suspensions as well. If by the unfortunate circumstance you end up in a wreck while you're under the influence of some of these drugs, some of these pharmaceutical drugs, and you cause a lot of damage, that can be a felony criminal damage charge. If you hurt somebody, that can be an aggravated assault, class 4 felony, class 5 felony. If you killed somebody, you can actually be charged with murder for homicide.
My son Christopher died at the age of 16 on August 20th, 2011 of a morphine drug overdose. He had been having some issues for about a year and a half. When we first started finding out, it was the usual, smoking marijuana, alcohol, things like that. And of course we started addressing it immediately. He did everything right. He went through sports. He played soccer up until, 7th grade, I think. Played baseball until probably 7th grade. Boy Scout, was almost an Eagle Scout. Didn't have too far to go to actually get that accomplishment done, and the kids were talking immediately. I mean, I had kids right across the street from me, and so they started telling everybody, that he had passed away and that he was dead, and morphine hit the screen. And I told the cops that, and we were just all shocked and dumbfounded. We had absolutely no idea that anything like that could have been a part of it.
Some other things that could help with the solutions for this epidemic are making sure that you don't have so many medications in your home. Either making sure you don't get too many prescribed to you, or disposing of unwanted ones when they're expired or you don't use them anymore. And to create a deterrent for people to be able to get to these medications. So this cap has a combination on it. It's called a locking cap, or it's called safer cap. They're about $12, $13 each, but if you go to PIMACPC.org, they will give you a discount. It's very resistant to damage. Even if someone tries to damage it and does crack it, then the owner of the bottle is going to know someone was tampering. So it's a way of letting the owner of the prescription know someone either tried to get it or they took the whole bottle.
Okay. We have a program called RX360. And the idea of that is to wrap around the families, to give them all the information that we can so that parents understand the issue, understand the dangers, and are prepared to sit down and have a conversation with their teen. The RX360 program, offered by the Community Prevention Coalition here in Pima County, seeks to educate parents on the harms and consequences.
Like bring it up to your kids that how prescription pills are really abused, especially with drinking now. So if they're ever around those, they should avoid them as much as they can, because like drinking underage is bad enough as it is. And if you start mixing it with something like addictive, like prescription pills, you're just kind of going on a downward spiral. So you don't want your kid to end up like that.
Caring point of view, and obviously a parent has been a teenager before, and they can sort of relate to the things that their teenager's going through, and making sure that their kid knows that. And obviously it'll always be hard, and some kids will be more understanding than others, but I think that that's the best approach.
Parents need to be able to talk to their teens about that, and so that's one of the things that we have to do in Pima County. One of the things that we're doing with the CPC is educating parents on how to talk to their kids, how to talk about prescription drugs, how to talk about the dangers. And the other thing is that we're trying to give them access to ways to keep their drugs safe. We're giving out prescription locking caps. We're giving out, locking cabinets. And so that's some of the things that we're doing right here in Pima County.